Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is, and what a beautiful background. Of course, the sun. Where is the sun? The sun's back that way somewhere. So anyway, I hope you could see me here because maybe if I just get a little. Starlight's been trying to just get that background. It's so beautiful because there's some lilies out there on this pond, or I don't know if they call. I don't know if it's a pond. I would think it's more of a pond than a lake. But anyway, I hope you're getting out in nature and be kind to yourself. You gotta be kind to yourself and others, okay? So also, if you are new to my YouTube channel, you could find you. Thank you for coming and visiting Starlight. Yes, thank you for visiting Starlight, and you could find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K, Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't be afraid, don't be shy. Swing by and say hi to Starlight by leaving Starlight a message down below. Beep, beep, beep. And you can also share my videos with your family, your friends. I'm trying to think what animals. I'm gonna say a duck and a geese and a goose. A goose that got loose. So besides that, you could check out my playlist and find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, any of you who would like or love to support Starlight by sending her some extra love, I would really appreciate that, and you can on my Cash App, and I will have that information here. Ting! There it is. And also a big, huge thank you to you. Yes, you, and you. I appreciate all of you. Some of you have been here from the very beginning and all the way even till now. And some of you might have joined me in between, in the beginning, in between, or maybe just recently. So thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel. And this is a place that I want you to feel like family here. And does that mean that we're always going to get along? No, that doesn't mean that we're always going to get along. Do you get along with your family all the time? Do you always agree with your... No, right? So we are family here. So anyway, today is really important, and this is for everyone, but I really want to reach out to the parents out there, because I'll tell you what, I love being a mom. That was my greatest job in the world besides serving God. And I'm so sorry about the lighting here. It just kind of changed on me, but at certain times in the day this does happen. So anyway, like I was saying, as far as being a parent or even being people, men, it's not just for women. This is also for men, because this can happen to men or for women, but it's more likely to happen to women more than men. Ooh, I know. You pushed the button, right? So yes, this is more weighed towards women than men, but not saying that men don't go through this. So this title here is called Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, who's the fairest of them all? Of course, that's not the whole title, but Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. I wonder who's the fairest of them all. And it might not be, the title. Who knows what Starlight's going to talk about with a mirror. And so it is very interesting how there's different people all around the world, and we all have different beliefs, that we were brought up with. And I did get to, when I was younger growing up, I met some Amish people. And then later on in my life, I met Mennonite women and whole families. I actually was super, super close to a family when I lived out in Pennsylvania. It was beautiful. They were such sweet, beautiful people out there. And they used to have a King Herb Nook, it was called. I can't even remember, forget the name of their They used to sell organic herbs, all kinds of herbs. You want herbs, you need herbs, they had them, or even flowers. And they made soaps and all that stuff. So anyway, I made great, like I was getting really a good connection with that family. Felt like family with them. So anyway, like I was saying, is that we all have different backgrounds. And then there's stuff in the Bible, There's things in the Bible, and that's what we gotta, there's things in the Bible a lot of times we don't go by because that's not how we were brought up. A lot of people don't believe in God. But there's a lot of wisdom, of course there's a lot of wisdom in the Bible, isn't there? So mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? So I'll tell you what, parents, yes, mom and dad, you guys and girls, is when you bring up your kids, and it starts when they're really little, and it's great to have your kids looking beautiful. But what you really want to do, and I know some of you adults might go through this, is being cautious. You got to teach your kids when they're little. This is how it starts. So, I had to learn the hard way on these things. Sometimes that's how we go through life as a parent. And, later on you realize, ooh, I see what I did, or, and it's nothing wrong really, but it could really damage a child in such a way, is that a lot of times as parents, depending on what you went through as a child, and how you felt, like for example, is if you were a kid, of course you were a kid at one point, and maybe you got called names all the time, and it could have been because of the clothes that you're wearing. Starlight had all the above, it was the clothes that I was wearing, it was my hair, nothing, I was judged on everything. So it is kind of something how God does things, is because when we go through that as children, and your story might be different. You might have been just called names, people might have picked on you for how you look, or maybe the skin color that you have, Did you ask for that skin color, people? And I'm not saying color people, but, so sorry that came out like that. But did you ask to look the way you might have? In a past time, you might have said, hey, I love, you might have finally accepted yourself and said, hey, next time you come back here, I want to look the same way. It might have took you, half your life to accept what you look like, and you might have made that, to God, and God's like, okay, yeah. Then you got to start all over again and re-love yourself again and accept yourself again. Woo! Sorry about this noise. So whether you ask to look the way you are, because it's not about the outside appearance. And I got this animal is communicating with that sound. Animals do mimic things. So with that being said, is you want to bring up your children where you're not so focused on their outward beauty. And a lot of times what happens, like I was saying, is that you could have been brought up, you could have gone to school, you could have had brothers and sisters or family members or friends or whoever that could have called you names and picked on your ears, maybe they picked on your nose, or the skin color, you name it. Kids can be really cruel, and brothers and sisters can be really rotten, And then there's, of course, the other people that are not like that. But you could have came from a family, and you could have been brought up that way. And so when you have your first child, you're like, you know what, I'm not going to let that happen to my child. I'm going to make sure my child believes that they're the beautifulest one around, and or they're the most handsomest, So then parents can actually focus so much on the outside and building up their self-confidence in the child, which is great. It's great to build up their self-confidence and let them know that, they are enough, they are beautiful, they're handsome. But you got to be careful with that. There's balance to that. If you're always constantly, going to your children and having them to look at their outward beauty, like a man or, a boy or a girl, and saying, wow, look at you, you're so handsome, and, I tell you what, if you're overdoing it with especially the girls, and this can happen to boys too, there's sometimes later on there's an imbalance with the male and female, um, um, like feminine and masculine energy in men and women later on, that could cause a lot of problems, with them later on as they grow up. So you want to make sure that how much time are your daughters spending in the mirror? Because when it comes to be an obsession, and I really don't watch TikTok at all, but there's times that I upload, how TikTok is, those of you that know about TikTok app, once you have the app open, bam, videos are playing. They want those videos to play, so you get, they want to pull you in before you even get to breathe. So that's what happens with Starlight, and it's so funny is because I made a video not too long ago, is don't hate me because I'm black, and don't worry, I'm gonna make another video. So because I made a video on that topic, now I end up getting videos that come on my feed from TikTok. It's about racial stuff, so I get these same women that they're really beautiful on the outside, and they're always, it's like the same video, the same thing that they're saying pretty much. But of course the women are set up differently, the background is set differently, they're all lined up differently, but it's the same message. They're like, hey, this is for you white people out there, look at us, would you like to be my friend? And it is kind of, and they're young girls, and that's I'm not here to judge them, but it's not about the outwardness. I keep on writing to those women. I'm like, I think you're all beautiful, but really it's not, there might be times that, women of color, and I've seen this on TikTok, I get videos that pop up and then they just start playing and I get to watch the whole thing. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe this stuff that's going on. Women and men are actually using TikTok as a way of getting hooked up with people. It's like so bad. So you got to watch out for this. And it's being in that mirror too long. I think there's vanity, vanity is vanity or something like that in the Bible. But you really got to be careful. And there are people in different cultures and backgrounds, and what they do is you only get the way some of these families are like Amish, and possibly, I don't think Mennonite really do this, but Amish people is, at least this is what I was learning in Pennsylvania into an Amish book for history. It was the history of how, what they do and how they live, their culture and stuff like that. And what I was learning is that they have their mirrors covered up because they don't want their daughters just, wow, look at how beautiful I am. Ooh, look at, oh yeah, look at me. And I'll tell you what, you gotta be careful with your children. It could bring them in places later on that, you got to really be careful because, if they think that it's all about their looks, and with daughters or boys, and like I said, this isn't just for the women, guys. This is for the men too, because even boys, when they start growing up, and even when they, start liking girls, then they're, they could be in the mirror even more. But you really want to put a time on how long they're, looking in the mirror, because it could get so bad that even when you're not in a house, that they're so wrapped up with, how do I look? How do I look? How do I look? Do I got a pimple on my face? Especially at teenagers when they're going to school and they're starting to like boys and girls. It's a big, huge thing, just getting a pimple, and then, anytime they get a mirror or even, I've known people where it could be even a car window, where they, there's obsession on how do I look. And you got to teach your kids, it's not about the outside. It is great. You can have your kids build up their confidence about their outward beauty, or their being handsome, but you also want to have that balance and tell them it's not about the outside. It's, if they have an attitude, that is where you could say, you know what, you might think you're handsome or you might think you're beautiful, but guess what? Right now, the way you're treating me right now, your attitude is not beautiful. And that's the kind of beauty that people are looking for is, it's not about the outside. Right now, you're acting like a little snob. Right now, you're acting like a little bitch. Right now, you're acting like a little jerk, And that, I'm not going to say, I'm just speaking this to you right now. You don't have to talk to your kids like this. You can use different words, but I'm being really out here with this to get your point on how important this is, because you don't want them getting so wrapped up on how their outerness looks like. And that's not just with their face, that's with the clothing. Clothing does, makes you feel a different way. I've wore clothes that, man, I feel so freaking powerful. I did, I have my business clothes, and I think I just got rid of that beautiful white shirt, like if I was going to do an interview, I had certain clothes. That's my business clothes, that's when I feel very powerful. I feel different wearing it and those kind of clothing. And you could kind of control your kids' behavior by the kind of clothes that you allow them to wear. So you don't really want them feeling super, super good in the clothing that they wear, because it really could change them and it could put them in bad situations in life. It's great to feel good, but there's certain clothes that make you feel a certain way, and that's what you got to watch out for. And like I said, this video is not just for kids. It's for the parents to teach their kids. When they have snotty little attitudes, well, that's not very beautiful of you. Even the sons, when they're having that, attitude, because they're going to always push the boundaries. They're always going to see what they can get away with. Is you got to let them, and I did this with my son, is when he, was challenging boundaries or seeing what he could get away with. It's a normal thing. I love my son. He's I'll tell you what, he's doing amazing. In his life, he's a great example for other men out there in the world for the way he's been brought up and the way he's doing his life right now, having a wife and a son, and that didn't happen by accident. I was the one that brought him up. He didn't have a daddy, so it took a single mom to do that, but with God's help, I didn't do that all on my own. But even when your sons can challenge you, I did this with my son, I'm like, is that how you're going to treat your wife? How you treating me right now? Is that how do you think that's really going to work when you have a wife later on? And I'll tell you what, it worked. It got him thinking, and he was really listening to me. He really was. He really listened to me. I didn't have to treat him like, really bad or anything like that. I was just using some wisdom behind all this and teaching him about his attitude inside. So when your children, no matter what age, is, when they're all about their looks, sometimes it's already too late. They've already been looking in the mirror too long, but you can limit their time in the bathroom of how long they're looking at themselves, really, and teach them it's not about the outwardness. It's about what's going on inside their heart. So when you're teenagers or, your boys or women, when they are snobby, that's not very beautiful. You think that the outside it's all about the outside, but right now, that's not a really good, beautiful attitude that you're having with me. And they'll think about that, what is she trying, because there's some girls, when they and when they're friends with other pretty girls, now they're all like, oh, they're all about their looks, they're all about their outward. And that's the videos that I've been watching about these women out there that are trying to get white people's attention by making these videos, about, hey, would you be my friend? Look at how beautiful we are. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And I seen another video on TikTok, and it was a beautiful woman of color, a teenager, a young girl, like in the 20s, early 20s. And her dad was there in this short video. And he's like, come on, guys, you wouldn't go out with my beautiful daughter? What's wrong with you guys, And I'm like, because she wants to get with a white man. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's not about the outward. It's about what's going on inside. You could get anybody to love you, and some of you thinking that's impossible. See, you don't believe in it. That's why. You know, you might think, but look at me. You gotta do work though. It's not gonna, like, you know, fall on your, you know, your plate. What are you doing? What do you got to offer that guy? What do you got to offer that girl? What is it that, you know, the house, the car? No, not that. What else? So anyway, I love you. So mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? So don't think it's about looking in the mirror that's going to make everything happen. It's your attitude, and teach it to your kids. And even if you're an adult, it's, you know, people will love you more when they see what's going on in the inside. And I'll tell you what, the person that I'm in love with, and a higher love with, I fell in love with everything about what was going on inside, who he was inside, before I fell in love with the outside. Imagine that. And he's handsome either way. It's just that I was more drawn to what I was learning about inside instead of looking on the outside. So I love you all. So teach your children, and I'll tell you what, and it starts when they're little. It really does, because if you put more energy and more onto their looks, they're going to be always looking in the mirror, you know, and always looking in the mirror. And you gotta let them know. You gotta teach them when they're young and growing up, especially in the teenage years. And it's tough, but like, hey, that's enough time in the bathroom. You know, you gotta get out of there. You know, you're beautiful, but it's about the inside. So I love you so much. You could give this video a thumbs up. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, you can leave me a message down below, beep, beep, beep. And you could share my videos with your family or friends, because there's some fish. How about some fish? And I'm going to say I'm looking at the animal in my mind. Man, what is that animal called? Man, it starts with a P. Penguin. You could share my videos with a penguin. Wobble, wobble, wobble. And also, you could check out my playlist and find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that's Kathy with a K, Dingman Starlight. I love you all. And you gotta love who you are on the inside, not just what you look on the outside. I love you. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight Love Light.